So in this week's Parshas Tetzei, we have a number of mitzvahs. One of the most interesting mitzvahs that we have in this parsha is the concept of Ben Sorer Umoreh, which is that you have a situation where you have a son who is silo v'soiveh, who rebels against his parents, rebels against Torah, who steals and eats an exorbitant amount of raw meat in a very rebellious way. And because of that, the Torah gives a very harsh punishment, which is chiv misa, actual capital punishment. And which is strange, because there's nothing technically that the child did now that would be so terrible to obligate misas bezdin, capital punishment. So Rashi brings down from Chazal, the Gemara in Sanhedrin, that what's unique to the Ben Sorer Umoreh is that he's nidain al shem saifai, that he's actually being punished or being judged based on sort of the path that he's chosen. What he's doing right now indicates very strongly that he's on a path that will eventually lead to become a robber and a murderer and really a terrible person, which that would obligate death, and therefore the Torah judges him now according to that end. What's fascinating, however, is that the details of the Ben Sorer Umoreh, the Torah sets up in such a way where it's almost impossible for it to happen. In fact, the Gemara says that Ben Sorer Umoreh, this whole story of the Ben Sorer Umoreh, lo hayav lo yeh, it never happened, and it never will happen. The odds of it happening are astronomically small. So, I mean, for example, the window of opportunity to be in Ben Sorer Umoreh is very small. It's only from the ages of 12 to 12 and a half. What he has to do is incredibly rare. Steal from his parents and drink a certain amount of wine and raw meat, very rare. And what's even more rare is that the Torah says he didn't listen to kol aviv v'kol imai, to the sound of his father and the sound of his mother. And Chazal darshan that one of the stipulations of Ben Sorer Umoreh is that both his parents have to have the exact same voice, which is almost impossible. And so the Gemara is setting up Ben Sorer Umoreh, establishing this law of a child that's being punished based on the end result of his actions, long term down the line. But yet it's being set up in such a way where it's impossible for it to ever happen. And in fact, the Gemara, as I said, records it never happened, never will happen. So what's the Torah doing? Giving us a halacha, creating a halacha, and the details of that halacha undo itself. So Sfar HaKadoshim tell us the following thing. The very idea of the Ben Sorer Umoreh being punished right now because the end result of the path that he's chosen, that idea runs in the face of tshuva, right? It runs in the face of the possibility to look back at one's history and to take a sharp right, and to completely get off of that destructive path and to reinvent oneself. The very idea of the Ben Sorer Umoreh, that he's being judged according to the path that he's chosen and what will eventually lead to murder and robbery, again, as I said, it runs against the very concept of never giving up, of always believing in the ability to change. And so the Sfarim say that, and that's exactly what Ben Sorer Umoreh is about. The concept of this parsha is that the Torah is setting up a halacha, which is a person choosing a path and being stuck in that path and never being given the opportunity or the strength to veer off that path, and that halacha never being able to be manifest. For that halacha to be impossible. The very purpose of Ben Sorer Umoreh is for the Torah to establish the idea of a person being stuck in a certain position, in a certain direction in life, and for that phenomenon of being stuck in that path, for it to be impossible. In other words, the very concept of Ben Sorer Umoreh is establishing that there is no such idea as being stuck in a certain path. The very parsha of Ben Sorer Umoreh is expressing the idea that a person should never give up, that there's always a way out. The concept of judging this kid based on his eventual future is itself set up in the Torah to be impossible. And that's exactly the point. It's not just a waste of time. It's establishing this truth in reality. Every halacha in Torah is creating a spiritual truth. And the truth of Ben Sorer Umoreh that's being established in this parsha is that it's impossible for a person to be stuck in a particular path. That's what it exactly is setting up, and that's why this parsha is so necessary to read and to learn about as we prepare for Rosh Hashanah. Because the very basis of tshuva is the belief that one is not stuck in anything that they have chosen until this point. That the concept of Ben Sorer Umoreh, of a Jew being stuck in a certain path, is impossible. Lo hayav, lo yeh. It never was and never will be such a thing. That's exactly the point. To prepare ourselves for tshuva, we have to believe 100,000% is that a Jew is never stuck. Any box that a Jew has put themselves in, the Jew is greater than that box. We're able to break out of it. The Nishmas Yisrael is the greatest, the most powerful thing in the entire universe. And this is something we have to remember, as I said, to prepare ourselves for Rosh Hashanah. So Hashem should help. That we should enter the Shabbos with Menuchas HaNefesh and Menuchas HaGuf, both individually and collectively, see the redemption of our people. Be as Kol Tzedek Meher V'Meinu Amen.
Thank you, Hashem. Thank you, Hashem. Thank you, Hashem. Thank you, Hashem.